All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Activated Mornings. What is that one? What is that one? What is that? We're live on Facebook and YouTube at WFM99 SVG. All right, and of course, the WhatsApp number you can reach out to us 4579994. The number to call 4579997. This morning, taking you up until 9:45 is Dr. Thompson and yours truly, Crystal, touching a bit on the weekend events. Maybe a bit more if we have enough time.
Yes. Sorry, Crystal. I'm not sure what's happening technically. You know.
No, it's okay. I started a new one. Started a new
Yes.
life.
Yeah. StreamYard is quite efficient, and so I'm not really sure why we drop in. So, but
No,
listen,
I'm telling you, it wasn't StreamYard. It was me.
yes. Oh, sorry about
Yeah.
that. Now, what I think things are just beginning to heat up.
Heat up
Things
for
are
what?
just beginning to heat up with
When is it
respect
heat up?
to some of the politics and so forth. It'll be 2 years, so that I could imagine that we're going to go into what people call silly season,
Silly
and
season.
yes, I think this is a term coined. I heard Dr. Adrian Fraser talking about it and so forth, where a whole set of things said. I was looking at a documentary the other day about false facts and false papers, publications coming out, especially with the new era of artificial intelligence.
I'm glad you're going there. I am glad that you're going there.
To me, as a scientist, it's scary. And I've asked somebody if they could come on the program at some point in time so we can start to discuss this. But there's a lot of fake stuff being published out there. Music, this and so forth. It's unbelievable. And voices, Crystal, your voice can be replicated so as to say it is you. So can mine. And we just by gathering all the data, going through and getting all the files of you over the last 6, 7, 8 months, they could put together speech patterns and so forth and come up with that. But papers are being written, facts are being created for those papers to bring over a certain answer. It was interesting hearing Linsky Douglas the other day, really should have put talking about a paper, an answer. People asking asking the answers they want. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I quoted it properly, but it sounded really interesting. I had wanted to touch, in addition, briefly on the port development project. And I sent you something, Crystal. And I don't know if you had a time to read it. Did you read it?
No, not in it. It's a long document.
It's a long document. It's not really a long document, 40-something pages.
46 pages is a long document.
Boy, that is long, boy. God, Lord. A short.
What is long really?
Anything under 10 pages is tiny.
Okay.
But I sent you the environmental impact assessment for the Richmond Quarry. It's been bothering me. Why are people saying no environmental impact assessment was done? And this environmental assessment, when you read through it and we get a chance to discuss it, you will see on the front page a picture showing the Richmond Quarry. But persons are saying that this Richmond Quarry was not included in whatever environmental impact was done for somewhere else. Why I bring this up is because some individuals saying on the Argyle project, on the port development project in dredging, you can't trust the government because they stated that environmental impact assessment was done when none was done. And they go on to say that, well, in terms of if whatever study was done, it did not pertain to Richmond. So if you can't trust them on Richmond, therefore you can't trust them on Argyle. But I sent that to you to show you that an environmental impact assessment was done. And at the time, I had 4 consultations. 4 consultations. One of the consultation was with the gravel miners, people who take gravel off of the Richmond Beach. Another was with truckers. There was another small country, and there was a large one of almost 100 people, well attended and so forth. And so it bothers me when people say there's never, of course, in a more recent thing, they may not have reconsulted, but there were consultations done at that time, and the environmental impact assessment was done at that time. And I keep on hearing people say none was done, and they read it. And so how could they have read this environmental impact assessment? They either not telling the truth, or they deliberately, or they didn't read it. They either didn't read it, or they're not telling the truth. They're stranger to the truth. I bring that up not to bring back in the Richmond Quarry in any way, but to bring the issue up that as it's used as a reference for the port development project and the dredging, that is something that really.
I recall though, Doc. I don't recall it being said that there was no environmental study done for Richmond. That was all over the place. Unless that was before. I mean,
Christal.
Maybe I'm listening to the wrong things too, right?
Christal,
yes, sir.
I'm glad you said that, because the environmental impact assessment was sent out hard copy, electronic copies. But you see, if something is repeated several times, no environmental impact assessment done, no environmental impact assessment done, people start to say, there's no environmental impact assessment done. And you keep on hearing people repeating it. And I'm glad that even though you haven't read the report, you already knew one was done, because it was circulated to radio stations and so forth and things like that. And you would have been one of those who might have received it or so. Maybe you didn't go into detail and read it in detail. But 80% of that particular environment was dedicated to the Richmond Quarry itself, not so much the sand mining of Larry Kai and other dry beaches further along the beach. You know what I mean? Further along the bay side, you know, so, going on the last Fray.
Question, right? Now, this was supposed to take place last year, as in the project, 2022 and 2023 right now.
Yes.
The first page of the Richmond Quarry Environmental Impact Assessment, prepared by Institute for Environmental Research and Technology, INERT, February 2008. What relevance is it from 2008 to 2022?
Thank you very much. You see, there was a company prior to this that wanted to not only develop the Richmond Quarry, but also do sand mine, gravel mining, like rubber mining at certain other beaches. And so before you put in an application for the planning department, an EIA must be done. And in addition to the EIA, you have to, having read the EIA, the concerns that are raised and picked up in the EIA, you then have to do a management plan that outlines how you are going to manage a quarry and address the concerns of the EIA has raised. That company, basically, consultations were done right up until 2013. That company was still in play up until 2015. And then for various reasons, you know, the global financial crisis eventually, you know, had a toll, and they decided not going forward. So that's where things went out. Can another company come in? Now, the issue is they were still going to have to present a management plan based on the environmental impact assessment. The environmental impact assessment, someone could say, may have totally changed, but it hadn't changed. You know what I mean? Even with Soufriere eruption and so forth. The company had actually brought a lot of the equipment in before Soufriere erupted, all during the time that Soufriere erupted. Equipment was actually there on the ground. And people were asking, well, after Soufriere erupted, those equipment helped to clear roads and so forth in the area, and people knew what that thing was for. But the point I'm making is that the argument will be made that a new environmental impact assessment is done. No, what's needed is a new management plan to address all the different issues raised in the environmental impact assessment. Somebody may argue that an environmental impact assessment may need to be tweaked up, but even after you have an EIA, plus the management plan from the company, the planning department, then they start to ask some other questions. So in other words, the story isn't just you do an EIA and then you have a management plan. The planning department then starts asking questions. What about this? What about that? And you then back and forth. Those questions are answered so as to satisfy the planning department as regards what they would like. The planning department would also send out to parks and beaches, to other VINLEC, to CWSA, to ask their opinion and so forth. And they would get those opinions as well. And those additional questions would then be asked in addition to what is there in the EIA. So the EIA is one part of it that outlines by an independent company what are the main issues to be addressed, but the company has to put a detailed plan to address them, and there are additional questions from the planning department. And I want to say that this all comes to the fore because persons have been saying what you say they shouldn't be saying, Christal, that no EIA was done. I heard, Andrew Simmons saying that no EIA was done, or that the EIA was done on some other section of North Leeward and not on the quarry, when that is totally incorrect. And that all comes in relation to the whole dredging in terms of whether you can believe the consultant now and the project management team with Linsky, Douglas, and so forth. That's the whole issue.
Okay. Understood. Let me ask you a question, right? Why do you think... Now, you explained all of that, but would it have made more sense to just do a new EIA?
In terms of what you needed was, since an EIA had been done for such a project, but the new project did not include Larry Kai and these other sand mining of beaches. They weren't going to get into that. They were just going to deal with the quarry section. And the EIA dealt with almost 80% of the document with the quarry itself. Then, basically, what you need from the company is a management plan. They can't go and use somebody else's management plan. And they have to answer all the new questions from the planning board, which experts at the planning department would now have. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It is more that you've gone not so much past that, but there are other important things to have because you already have an EIA to start out with. And somebody may argue that, Soufriere eruption would open up a vent at Richmond, or it would crack some piece of wall or stone or whatever. But no, there wasn't any evidence of that. And the planning department would have been observant of those particular things and asked a lot of additional questions in terms of where the jetty was going to go and exactly where and this, that, and so on. So they'd asked a tremendous amount of questions. And those questions were satisfactorily answered. And I think that's where the body of information lies as regards what should be new. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Now, some responses. Well, somebody says UOP will win again, 6 in a row. Somebody say, good morning to everyone, 50 years straight non-stop. I think I know this person here. Alrighty then. Now, if you want to reach out to us, the WhatsApp number is 457-9994. The number to call is 457-9997. Now it's 9:32. As we head up to the 9 o'clock hour, wrap things up just a little before 9:45, so we can get to sign out and so on. I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to touch on. Somebody says petty politics at its best. Politics real petty and Simmons. I ain't got anything to tell you. Well, in my opinion, petty politics.
Yes. Christal, that person is right. This is certainly petty politics. I have never been able to understand why you, as a journalist, knew that an environmental impact assessment was done. But other persons are stating that I want you to review that to find out if, over the last few months, anybody has been saying no EIA was ever done, or if one was done, it was done for a different part of St. Vincent, a different part of North Leeward, and not the quarry. And therefore the new statement is, as a result, I'm repeating myself, as a result, don't believe anything about Argyle dredging and about any other place and so forth. Don't believe Linsky Douglas the technical, because if you don't believe Richmond, you can't believe Argyle. I think that's the argument that's being presented. It's petty politics. It's simple petty politics, and I think it's wrong. I think that people should be honest, and people should be outright, and people should read the document that's been well circulated.
What is on my mind right now, right? If a mistake has been made, let me say generally, right? Okay, sorry. Let me take a call right now. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. It's connecting. So you coming? Yeah, you gonna answer me or not? Hello. Not too sure what is happening here. Call failed. Let me just end this right now because this is wasting time. But if you want to call us via WhatsApp, 4579994, we do welcome the calls. All right. Now, right. So if a mistake has been made, whether it be with a project, whether it be a person, whether it be with an artist or whatever, that kind of damages the brand or the image or the outlook. You don't think that it is fair to accept that people will be less likely to believe part two or something that follows up from that entity, organization, brand, image, person? You don't think that's what is happening here?
Yes. And that is the attempt. Because of that same theory, if you could convince people that this is a pattern and that no EIA took place, therefore you would get them not to believe the EIA done at Argyle and the technical studies done and all those sort of issues. It would make you believe that what Linsky Douglas is so is a matter of fact. My good friend Kingsley, if I could bring up his name and so forth, would have said he believes other person, he doesn't believe Linsky. So he would be one of those individuals who might well have been persuaded. Of course, every single day, people are persuaded by wrong information. And it's important to get that right information out. That's why I'm raising it. You know what I mean? Maybe I shouldn't raise it. Maybe I should just leave the information just as is for people to say there's no EIA study done. You know what I mean? But I tell you what I wanted to do. I wanted to hold up a copy of the EIA to show you a picture of the Richmond quarry that you've seen. You am I correct? It's a copy of stone on the thing, not gravel. You know, stone from a quarry. Huh?
You could probably hold up the phone if it's on your phone.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I could probably hold up the phone, it is. But you know, but what's more important, you know, is actually in my view, what's of greater importance is getting people to understand that an EIA gives you the broad technical standards, and that an entity who has to now read that EIA, and everybody has to see if they are going to do everything to meet or surpass, do better than what the EIA is asking for. You understand? And there are going to be lots of other questions from the planning department and from a project so as to meet those particular standards. That's the critical thing, you know? That's the critical thing in my view. Now, listen, I don't know if people could see this. This is the front page. Let me pull it back
Mhm.
of
Really good.
of the study. It doesn't project well,
Right. So
right?
that's all.
It does.
Right. Seeing it.
Yes, it doesn't project well. But why would, if a study is being done on riverbeds, dry rivers, why would it have a stone quarry? Because it was done on a stone quarry. The consultant, I think, initially said he had not done a study on the Richmond quarry. But a few days later, he said, oh gosh, yes, I remember, sorry, I did do one. But everybody looks to ignore that. It's convenient to ignore that. That the consultant finally came back. The people who conducted the study, believe it or not, had initially said none was done, but came back after and said, yes, we did do it. Can I tell you something? Way back in 2010, I got a copy. I studied it, Christal. I studied it from cover, page 1 to page 45. I read it several times because at the same time, I was not only represented, I eventually was the caretaker in the area. And I wanted to know, as a person of conservation, what this is going to entail. And we had these 4 consultations. People were largely in support of it. There were some persons who had their apprehension. But I am taken aback by some other entities who have said, at all cost, marginal seats should not have any project. There should be a cap on capital projects, on foreign investment. I don't know if you've been hearing any of those kind of statements. And that is why you find that Rabaka Bridge was opposed. AIA was opposed. You know what I mean? The port, there'll be attempt to stop it at all cost, you know, even though the science and everything like that has lined up properly. And that's what this is all about. Somebody call this petty politics, but it probably is more than that, you know?
Mm-hmm. A question. The developer in this EIA here, Carib Sand and Stone Limited, that business still running, do you know?
This was a Martinique and Dominican kind of company.
Dominique.
They had quarries in Dominica. And they would have gone through some turbulent times as during the, these things would have started just before that global financial crisis of 2008, the energy crisis, remember? And then a lot of construction just stopped after the Clico crisis, after Hurricane Thomas, as a whole series of events in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. But they decided that they did not meet all the things necessary for the planning to give them full permission. Let me put it that way, right? Based on the EIA and based on their management plan and based on the questions that were being asked. There were a number of things still for them to do. And then they decided to not go forward with the project. But because of the planned construction of hotels and airports and so forth, there was still a need for stone, which could have been imported, but would send your cost way up high. So therefore, another proposal was sent out inviting persons based on the same EIA to submit a management plan of how they would handle the EIA and how they would manage a quarry and at what prices and so forth and like that. You understand? Mm-hmm. That's how it happened.
All right.
So that company that would have had to have the EIA, basically they got the EIA, they submitted their management plan, but they didn't have all the questions answered from the planning, the additional questions answered from the planning department. And we're talking up to 2015. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Up to 2015. And so when they dropped out by 2018, 2019, another proposal was put out. And I think in 2019, these companies like Renault responded. Several companies responded. And this is where we are today. You know?
Okay. All right. Got it. So we're going to wrap things up. Somebody says, good morning. It is said that if you want to hide anything from Vincentians, just put it in writing. The majority of us don't have the time to read. What a sad thing.
I would say that that person is incorrect. If you want to hide something, just waffle, talk and talk and talk. If it is in writing and documented and circulated, it will be found. People read it. What is wrong is people have read it and are saying it never happened. So, but you, Christal, you have a copy there in front of you. You will eventually read it. And what that would surprise you, because you got it before, you may not have read it so detailed. And because of 45 pages is so long. Vincentians do read. I reject the notion that Vincentians do not read. Some people don't read enough or read at all. But I feel Vincentians do read, and enough people would have read that EIA. I read it several times. And so therefore, I can't be fooled or bamboozled and so forth. You know, I'm just speaking out.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Now, final thoughts. We got to wrap it up. We got 1 more minute.
Yes. Well, I want to say that to me, I think coming out of that public meeting, the lamenting that, you know, the Bailey bridges around, there should be permanent bridges. I wouldn't like people from North Leeward or from Mespo or where Bailey bridges have been put in to say that they were permanent bridges to what they got is sufficient. Bailey bridges are wonderful. We shipped Bailey bridges over to St. Lucia to help St. Lucia on one occasion and so forth. So I have no doubt about this. And in terms of the port project, wow, I'm seeing a lot of backfilling taking place. That project is going well, Christal. I mean, everybody should be quite impressed. Should be well impressed. And we'll talk. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
You're welcome. Take care. Talk soon. All righty then.